Moving the needle.
What is up? Right now on Movement Radio, we have Benny K coming straight to us from Minneapolis. How you doing, Benny?
What's going on, you guys? Hey.
So happy to have you on Movement Radio. And yeah, we definitely think that you are an artist that is moving the needle. So just for our audience, why don't you tell us, like, what's your background? How was it growing up? And maybe you can end with, like, how did you get into dance music?
Yeah, no problem, you guys. So grew up, born and raised Minneapolis, Minnesota, the frozen tundra in winter. So it was great. Have one sibling, little sister, and my family. And it was pretty fun, man. I grew up here and got into music actually by a rave DJ from this 90s warehouse rave DJ. And I say that literally EDM music saved my life. He was a DJ that was a follower of Christ. And I got exposed to EDM and he led me into the gospel. So I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior when I was 16 by a rave DJ. That was wild.
Oh my gosh, dude, I did not know that. That's incredible, bro.
That's awesome.
So it was amazing. It was so fun just to be exposed to this beautiful music and fall in love with Jesus all in one foul swoop when I was 16 years old. So this guy was a wild child too. He used to do warehouse raves and then preach the gospel right in the middle of his set. So it was like inspiration to get into the music, and I fell in love with EDM. He had like Bad Boy Bill in his car. This, like, if you're house people, Banging the Box, Volume 5, the first time I heard house music and heard like everything come together in one like hour mix. It was beautiful.
Right.
That is awesome, man.
That is so cool, man. That's a great story. It's almost like the roots of Transform a little bit, is just reaching out to people, being a rave DJ. So that's really cool. So you mentioned a name, but maybe that's not the person, but who's your biggest inspiration in music? Maybe as you were getting into it, or maybe now, whatever you want to say, but what's one of your biggest inspirations in music?
I would say like the original, kind of how it all started. I consider myself like a house and trance guy if I were marry the two worlds together. So starting out with Bad Boy Bill, that was like the old school, man, like the godfather of like house music from like Chicago house. Love that. Also too, I would say for like the trance side, I love like the more melodic experience. So like any Ajuna artist, one of my dear friends is Fatum. They're like killing the game with like this huge, big, like, bass drops into like these huge, beautiful chord progressions. I'll just melt your heart away. So
that's incredible.
I would say both, man. The house and the trance scene, both I can definitely identify with, and yeah.
That's so good, man. Well, you just got off a tour with Sean Foyt, and this can kind of be part of our last question, but it says, like, what are you looking forward to, but what's next? But I'm really interested also in what just happened like a week ago. So can you expand on that? And as well as what's been happening in Minneapolis since the beginning. If this one has to be slightly longer, that's okay. But just let us know what's been going on over the last few months and the last week as well.
Oh, totally. So as you guys all know, like a worldwide epidemic happened. George Floyd, tragically died in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I just felt led as like a DJ missionary, as I call myself, to really just literally bootstrap my sound system and literally DJ'd on the curb where the video went viral. So we literally had revival in our own city. City's burning. Wow. We mobilized and gathered God's people together, and I provided sound for over 50 days for revival services. It was beautiful. Whoa, out of that, we saw blind eyes opened. I baptized a drug dealer, came to Jesus. It was
dude, come on, man.
Unbelievable, you guys. DJ, you can DJ and be on mission, you guys. I'm just saying, it's possible. And it was so fun. Out of that, we had about the recording artist, Sean Foyt. If you guys don't know, it's this like wild guy with like blonde hair. And so fun. He reached out to us. He came out and he said it was the most life-changing experience that he had in our city in Minneapolis. And from that, he launched this huge like national tour through COVID. He's been mobilizing thousands of people to worship, from these like restricted areas of the United States. And he's just been having a ton of fun, seeing awesome, beautiful things happen. I was actually had the opportunity to DJ for their Midwest tour, and it was so fun, you guys. We went rowdy. We played EDM worship. People got down to worship. A lot of times people haven't heard of the sound that all of us have been in for so long, So it was gorgeous to see God's people just set on fire and set alive in their hearts. So many baptisms, in Chicago. It is amazing. It's a life-changing experience. So.
Dude, that is so amazing. That moves me. I want to ask you more about that on the extended version here in a second. But man, anything quickly, just anything you're looking forward to, and then how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Like on socials or website?
Socials, whatever.
Yeah, totally. So a couple things on kind of cooking in the Benny K world. One is going to be a radio show. So I'm very excited. We got to redeem the airwaves for Christ. So hey, it's going to be called Dance Escape, just on all the digital platforms, 1 hour mix, and yeah, would love to get all the fun peoples on the radio, and we're doing another kind of a DJ initiative for youth, teaching kids how to DJ, so it's gonna be really fun.
Love that.
And yeah, you can follow me too. Everything's kind of just at DJ Benny K. I have a website, djbennyk.com. On Instagram, you can just go to @djbennyk.com.
Absolutely love it, man. Well, we are so honored that you are here. Movement Radio, Benny K in the house. It's so cool. I'm so stoked, bro.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today, man.
So by the way, guys, we're gonna keep this interview going. Go to our YouTube channel @Transform EDM. Watch the extended version, kind of like an extended mix, an extended version of this interview with Benny K.
All right. Yeah, dude. Well, okay. Well, here we are. Extended version. So we have a few minutes, but I would love, man, just what you shared a little bit about, what you said about your wife being on tour and what was that like. And I mean, God has just been like highlighting you. I think God has like put his kind of like hand on you for this time. I mean, you didn't know what was about to happen in your city. You didn't know the opportunities that were about to come, but you've been faithful in your heart and your call. Have an awesome wife. You told me a little bit about your church background, and you're just like going for it with a group of missionaries. Maybe you want to expand on that, but we would just love to hear your heart. But maybe start off with what you mentioned about this last tour with your wife on it as well.
Yeah, so we literally did 6 cities in 5 days, you guys. So it was just like rapid fire. And like for me, full-time DJing for over 13 years now, and launched full-time DJing about 3 years ago now. And step of faith, obviously being full-time as a creative, and through COVID, honestly, mildly depressed, just to be vulnerable and real. And through this season, man, just seeing so much restrictions as an artist, as a large event DJ, missionary, it's like, And for me, it's just life-giving on this tour to see thousands gathered, not out of fear, but just out of faith, hope, and love, and just to see God's people mobilized in this hour to be like righteously, like bold for the Lord. It was fun, literally seeing cities turn upside down. My city, there's close to 3,000 people. It's like a reunion of sorts for all my friends in the Minneapolis area. And man, we went city after city, seeing people like set on fire for the Lord. Physical healings we saw multiple baptisms in Chicago alone. They won't let us have a sound system, do like political upheaval. So we literally went acoustic, and we literally, you don't need a sound system to see Jesus move. And it was so fun. Like we literally baptized people for over 2 hours in Chicago. It was crazy.
Dude, I absolutely love that.
So
that was with Sean Foyt, right? I just saw him in like Fort Collins, and you texted me that day. You're like, hey man, I'm going on 4 tour dates with 4 cities or whatever with Sean Foyt. I'm like, dude, no way I'm gonna see him tonight. And of course I'm trying to like, introduce me, how can I get connected? But then you got to do that, and you got to go, and you got to experience that. And I mean, obviously that's cool anytime. But I don't know about you, but Tim and I were talking this weekend that things are more weighty right now. There's a difference. It's not just fun. It's not just the typical mission, and nothing's wrong with those things. That's how we've been operating for years. But you just sense the same thing. That like, this is more serious now, or it's more weighty, more is at stake, And we're not just talking about the next month and a half or whatever. We just feel like the spiritual atmosphere is just like letting those who are going to shine brighter, because the darkness seems to be increasing as well. We're not discouraged. We're so encouraged, but yeah, man, I mean, that's what you guys were doing.
And like I would say too, like just to be faithful with like what's in front of you. It's like a humble yes. Lily had international plans like Brazil, Paris. So it was like really exciting. Then COVID happened, and I'm like, but like just saying yes to the mission that's in front of you. Like all the people are watching, or just just have a heart for missions with music, like I would just say yes to what's in front of you, because you never know like what God's going to do like behind the scenes and is preparing you for the bigger that's in front of you. So it's like, for me, I'm just pinching myself just to be, it's just been so fun, this wild like ride of faith and music and missions, and love you guys as hearts too. I consider you guys like family. So it's just fun to see what you guys are doing and to be running with you guys too, man. You guys are legends, and definitely look up to both you guys, man. So
thanks, man. That was one question I was gonna ask you was, what would you do to encourage people, even locally, that want, maybe they're a young DJ or they're a young producer, they want to do something for God using dance music. I mean, that's just kind of how we were. We're like, we love this music. What can we do for the Lord? And I mean, obviously, I think you answered it. It's just be faithful with what's in front of you. The Lord doesn't want anything but just faithfulness and obedience to what He's called you to do. And do what's in front of you, and just trust the Lord that He's just gonna open the doors that need to be and close the ones that don't. But still being able to use the music you love to reach people. I mean, obviously that's the answer I picked up, but anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say just believe God for open doors. Like, you don't need God will reward you. If you seek the Lord with all your heart, He'll reward you openly, and He'll bring you before great men, it says in the Word. And it's like, for me, that's just kind of been my heart, and just to encourage you, like, network, reach out, and like just believe God for big things, because He can do so much more if we just believe Him and ask and pray bold prayers for Christ. And this is the hour, guys. You guys touched on it too. It's like there's such a weightiness and a heaviness in the air, with all the racial tension, with COVID. It's like music, like we have the answer, obviously, as Christ followers, as well as music. Like, music is the universal language that breaks the room open. I've been in so many, like, just in Kenosha, we went to Kenosha too, just like Minneapolis, a black man was shot 7 times in the back, Jacob Blake. And like, for me, being able to open for like a revival service, like it opens the door. So I would encourage like young DJs, aspiring like producers, like just to feel like, see the mission in front of you, and like get outside the 4 walls of the church. Like, this is the time to like go outside, be bold, and see what God will do. He'll literally connect you to people you never dreamed of if you take steps of faith,
Yeah, man, and we have maybe 1 or 2 more questions, but that is such good insight. I hope that our listeners are just like gleaning so much from what you're saying. And basically, dude, being on the front lines, and we were going to expand on this just as a personal conversation, so might as well just try it here. But and that doesn't have to be a huge long thing or anything, but just someone who's been in the front lines, someone who's been in Minneapolis at the site of George Floyd, and been in Kenosha, and been in some of these sites, what would you say would be a healthy prayer to pray for the average person, or a healthy perspective to at least be open to? Obviously, what's been on my mind a lot is just listening, trying to be a good listener during this time. But do you have any sort of insight just from being in the front lines? We're not trying to make it like a socio counseling session, but I think that, God's obviously placed you, with some divine insight. So do you have anything you want to share about that? Yeah,
I would say too, like, there's one, I would like preface it is that, like, justice without Jesus is foolishness. It's like, we can't attain to true justice without reconciling folks to Christ. That's kind of been our heart, is that like through the memorial, through the 50 plus nights, like pouring out, there's like this like holy justice in our hearts that every believer, non-believer has, and it's like a God-given thing. Like, when you see like injustice, it's like it rubs everyone the wrong way, so it's like it's in people's hearts, right? So like for me, it's been fun to lead with like, hey, leading with listening, like you touched on, John, is like basically opening the conversation. Hey, how did this affect you? What do you think about this? And then leading that into the gospel of like, hey, Jesus was like the ultimate sacrifice, and leading into like the gospel, but through relationship and through just a real raw conversation of like justice. Because at the end of the day, it's not a program, it's not another thing that we can do. It's reconciling people to Christ, and then we can reconcile to each other. It's like a 2-step thing. It's like we've kind of been finding on the front lines is that you lead people to Jesus, then they have the power to actually forgive. Black and white, like I've been cussed out by all colors, man. So it's like racism is like it's really just a sin issue, and
Right.
you know, Christ died for all of our sins, you know, racism included, you know. So it's like at the end of the day is the gospel, and to lead with like listening and to hear people's brokenness, man. People are weeping, you know, and people are wrestling through this. So it's like, let's be people to listen and to lead people to Jesus, you know.
Dude, wow, I'm so inspired, and everything going back to the gospel. I love that. That is, you're right, dude. Jesus is the answer. That's so good.
Yeah, here again, moving the needle segment with Benny K here with us. So thank you for all of that. We got a few more just kind of fun questions that we like to throw out at people. So you're from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Obviously, let's see, Prince is from there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But if we were to go to Minneapolis, what's the spot to just get the best food, like the best eats in Minneapolis? Where would you take us if we went?
Ooh, Matt's Bar is pretty good. Like, it's kind of fun. Promise Keepers is alive. I took the Promise Keepers president to this place, man. It was kind of fun.
Yes.
It's like this total like dive bar that has like the best like $2. It's like diners, drive-ins, and dives. It's like nothing crazy, but just like the OG good burger. If you want like fried onions and like just a good burger, like politicians have ate there, like the lines out the door. It's something nostalgic just to have like a good greasy burger in Minneapolis, you know? Like, yeah.
Dude, that is awesome, man. That sounds so good right now. Like, I wish I was there. Awesome, dude. Do you want to hit the next one? You want me to hit it?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Ooh, man. I would say, coffee, man, coffee. I'm cold brew, man. Like, that's like the jam. I love it.
Me too, bro. Me too. I'm there with that.
Highly caffeinated. Give me the caffeine, you know? We run hard, you know?
That's right.
That's awesome, man. Well, dude, moving the needle segment, Benny K, BennyK.com, right? And the socials.
DJBennyK.com, boom.
DJBennyK.com. We're going to put all this in the show notes as well. Am I missing any last minute questions?
Favorite sports team?
That's right.
Ooh. Even though it's always a letdown every year, the Vikes, hey, man, they try. You know, they try every year, bro. You know, I'm not a big sports guy, but hey, you got to give it for the home team, you know?
Totally.
The new stadium is great.
I'll never forget two legends who are no longer there, but it's Keenum to Diggs, man. I will never forget that pass. Yeah. It's legendary in my heart forever. So
amazing.
What do you guys call it? The purple people eaters? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, purple people eaters, man. And we have like the border battle too with the pack, bro. We get like wild, dude. It's insane.
I'd rather go to a game there though because I want them to be warm. All right.
All right. Thanks everyone at DJ Benny K, DJBennyK.com. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Peace.